DIRT TRAX TV is sponsored by Polaris, think outside. Can-Am, follow your path. Yamaha, revs your heart. And by Honda Power Sports, power your dreams, whatever the terrain.
Years after proving that the Grizzly could be more, with my original WR700 build, I wanted to see if the newest generation Grizzly still had something underneath its utility exterior, something hidden within. Corner-to-corner precision, mid-range aggressive power, and handling that you'd never imagine possible have all come to be. I've never ridden a Yamaha four-wheel drive ATV this fast, never felt this confident or this precise. The only thing I could say it feels like is a Raptor with four-wheel drive. Yamaha has resisted going after the Scramblers and the Renegades. They've never put the Grizzly up as more than a mid-powered sport utility ATV. It's the Grizzly you see at the zoo, held back, tame. They've never asked it to push harder or be more, and I can say with confidence that they need to. With the help of my build partners on the WR700, I know there's an angrier, more confident, wild Grizzly under the refined exterior, and it's just waiting to be unleashed. This is the 2024 WR700 Grizzly. The industry says a 700cc single isn't big enough for a sporty four-wheel drive rocket. I say, they're wrong. When I say the name ARGO, it's synonymous with amphibious vehicles. They've been in the game so long and they do it so well. More recently, they offer full lines of ATVs and side-by-sides, but one thing that you may not know that they build in-house is this, the Sasquatch. While traditional 6- and 8-wheeled ARGO amphibious vehicles aren't at the highest end of technology and advancement, the ARGO brand as a whole has a powerhouse of engineering and manufacturing capabilities, and that is in full display with the brand new Sasquatch XTX. This impressively huge vehicle is not just designed to go anywhere and do anything, it does it all with ease and intuitiveness that you wouldn't expect from a vehicle that can only be described as monster truck-like. I'm gonna go out, go down the road, get to a trail, get into some mud. The way that I do all of this is so much simpler than Sherp, Fat Truck, any of the other brands of large-size vehicles like this. It's shift with a regular hand shifter. You have overdrive, you have neutral, you have drive, and then you have reverse. It's so simple, it's so easy. One of the things that I like about it is that I don't even have to stop and think about running a clutch, shifting gears, using 2 sticks. With something this big, I'm aware of my surroundings because I know I'm so much bigger than everybody else. I'm sure a monster truck driver feels the same way. I don't want to worry about how to drive when I'm worrying about or concerned about where I'm driving. And the Sasquatch makes that so easy. No matter what speed you're navigating at, e-steer is very simple, and this is where their hybrid system comes into play. I've already talked about that. It works so good. I'm moving the steering wheel a couple of degrees, and this vehicle is going exactly where I want. I don't have to hand over hand. I don't have to worry about how many rotations through the wheel I've gone or where center is on the wheel when I'm turning. It's a very small degree of play in the steering wheel. I can drive it one hand. I'm driving right now on a road, one hand. And I am completely confident, completely comfortable, and in control. Now, ARGO has had experience with the other large-size expeditionary vehicles such as this, and so they knew they wanted something a little bit different. They wanted to do it, well, right. And when it comes to sight lines, I mean, I still have a full rocks cage inside of this Sasquatch, so I know I'm safe should anything ever go wrong or I push the limits too far. But when it comes to sight lines within the rocks, I can see everywhere. I have a backup camera, which I actually haven't needed to use because I can turn around and look backwards and it works just fine, but it's there for me, so I have that comfort as well. But it's really nice to know that when I look around, I'm not blocked by large wall panels, and I don't have to peer through small doors or small windows. There is complete coverage, complete visibility all the way around. Having these sight lines in this full glass cage that I'm in really is nice. It's confidence inspiring, and the Sasquatch in every way raises your confidence in driving something this large. Now, something you need to know about why the Sasquatch is so easy to drive is the hybrid power system. And no, this isn't like your hybrid car or truck. When ARGO says hybrid, yes, they mean diesel and electric, but they mean this in a very different way. The 1.8-liter HO turbo diesel 3-cylinder engine does power the wheels, but only when in forwards driving conditions. When you ask the Sasquatch to steer, a hybrid electric e-steer system seamlessly steps into place and takes over duties of proportioning power to the different wheels at different percentages to make it steer precisely at any wheel rotational speed, in any condition, right down to 0 turn. And in fact, the 0 turn feature is incredibly impressive, but possibly more importantly, it's exceptionally easy to use.
DIRT TRAX is sponsored by Princess Auto. Make it work.
Because I've driven the Fat Truck, I've driven the Sherp, I really know something about interior features.
about the way the interior of the cab fits and the sizing of it and just the comfort. And man, the Sasquatch, it is very big inside. The QX4 4-seat cab, it's huge. The back seats flip up, the front seats are both adjustable forwards and back. I feel very comfortable in here. I'm not squished inside. I have all the information I need with my 12-inch infotainment screen right to my left. Now, the massive 12-inch infotainment touchscreen inside of the cab is also adorned by buttons on both sides of the screen, which means that no matter the driving conditions, no matter how shaky or bumpy it gets, you can always press your desired setting with ease. So the 12-inch infotainment screen gives me options. If I don't want to touch the screen because I'm bouncing around, which does happen at times, especially when you're going fast down the trail or down the road, I can push the buttons off to either side. So that's something that I really like. It gives me all the information on the screen, and I don't have to worry if I touch things on here about messing something up. When it comes to my drive modes for tires, when it comes to PSI changes down at the bottom that I can do manually if I want, I can adjust the PSI of the tires individually, change that. You know, if I want vehicle info or anything like that while I'm driving, I can push the button. It makes things really simple. It's very easy to work. Screen information is copious, allowing you to access everything you could possibly need. Sure, the basics of engine RPM, speed, and temperatures are there, but the pitch and roll sensors will also give you visual cues on the inclinometer gauges to know just how close to the limit you can go, which is 35 degrees for incline and decline and an impressive 30-degree capability side hill angle. Because you're in such a huge machine, it can be tricky to accurately gauge just how far off camber or steep the terrain is, so the gauge tells you. Now, there's a few other things that the gauge does as well that are a must-know when it comes to a vehicle with this gargantuan-sized tires. Preset tire pressures based on terrain, which are automatically adjusted to ensure pressure is equalized. Now, the Sasquatch does have the ability to change your tire pressure settings on the fly at the press of a button or the tap of the screen, and it's incredible. Other brands require you to run the engine up in neutral and watch the pressure rise or lower. The Sasquatch does it all in the background, automatically, and maintains that pressure if anything changes. The left-hand side of the display includes everything from display settings and vehicle info, along with a full manual that includes diagnostic info and an in-depth troubleshooting guide. So you can go from water to road to trail in the simple press of a button or tap of the screen. It happens fast, and I'm talking really fast. And yes, those little tire pressure changes are actually very important, and they are noticeable. And it's going to give you the best potential out of these tires, and therefore the best potential out of your Sasquatch. So something that's super easy about the Sasquatch, as I drive right into the water and it feels so strange. Something that's really cool is, right now I'm in trail mode, but it's so simple. I touch water on the screen, or I can push the button if I choose. You can use either, and instantly I can watch the PSI of the tires change. I mean, right away, they're doing exactly what I need them to do, and I can sense I'm going faster now. It's so simple, so easy. I don't have to stop, I don't have to pause like some of the other brands. It just happens right away. Now, on water, ARGO has done a lot of testing, and you gotta know these guys know about amphibious vehicles and tire pressures and tire shape. And these huge tires, they're shaped and designed so that they do exactly what they need them to do out here. And they work better on the water than anybody else's tires. So pretty interesting, pretty unique. I'm even gonna try a zero turn on the water and see how that works. So we tap zero turn, I apply the brake. And the feature for zero turn on water, this is so much easier than anybody else's large vehicle. I feel like I'm on a tilt-a-whirl at the fair. It spins so fast. It gets me where I want to be. I can make these changes efficiently. Zero turn is just using the electric e-drive motor right now, which is really cool. That's the hybrid system. Very, very, very simple to use. Right back into drive, take off and keep going. That's easy. I'm very impressed how fast that the Sasquatch actually moves on water. Much quicker than the Fat Truck or the Sherp. This thing is, it's moving. I could get across the lake in no time, and that's saying something. ARGO has always been a leader in amphibious vehicles, and I'm not just excited about the Sasquatch because they gave me one to test. I'm excited about the Sasquatch because it's such a high technology piece of equipment with so many new and innovative features that ARGO has come up with. And I know that the trickle-down effect of all of this technology is going to find its way into other ARGO products in the future. And for me, that is very exciting.
DIRT TRAX has been sponsored by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. MBRP Performance Exhaust, built for the victory lap. And by Hercules Tire. Ride on our strength.
Last season when I tested Polaris's Expedition Adventure Northstar, I focused almost entirely on how great it was at getting you and your family into the wilderness in complete comfort. My family still loves spending time on the trails in the Expedition Adventure, and we do rides as a family often, something my wife and kids wouldn't be nearly as happy to do if the Expedition Adventure Northstar wasn't so comfortable. But there's an entirely different side to going on a real expedition that I didn't touch on at all during that test. If you want a real adventure, you're going to have to brave some gnarly terrain. If anyone can go where you're planning to go, that's just a ride. The real adventure starts when things get technical. So, I wanted to see just how good the Expedition Adventure Northstar was when it was put to the test on the gnarliest terrain I could find. Could it actually hold its own in the biggest ruts and rocks? Could you really conquer trails that other vehicles simply couldn't? To find out, I took our expedition to the gnarliest trails in our area, a popular Jeep spot called the Minden Off-Road Park. Big Jeeps do a serious number on trails. They wreck them, to put it bluntly, but that's exactly what I was looking for. The first thing I noticed about the expedition on this type of terrain was how well the suspension articulated in really big ruts and rocks. For a vehicle with sway bars, its front and rear double arm suspension was able to flex well into its 14 inches of travel and keep the vehicle level when the ground beneath it was definitely not. If this were my personal rig, I think the first upgrade I'd do would be a set of quick release sway bar links to help it articulate even better. Now, having said that, I have nothing to complain about. This thing is impressive. The next thing that impressed me was how much traction the 30-inch Pro Armor Crawler XP tires provided. Hitting the biggest rocks slow and low resulted in almost no wheel spin. The tires gripped the rocks like a cat on a screen door, and the excellent torque from the Expedition's 114 horsepower 999cc twin allowed it to just pull itself up the steepest stuff. I was also very impressed with how well the VersaTrack on-demand 4x4 system worked. There was never a situation where I felt this 4x4 system was holding me back from conquering an obstacle. The only thing I did feel held me back in only a few situations was the length of the Adventure 5's chassis. It's a full 5-seater, so it's really long. There's no way around that. And because of this, it would rub the chassis on big rocks and ledges once in a while. Now, with that said, it was far less frequent than I expected, and thanks to the arched front and rear lower arms, it was only the chassis that ever made contact. I never once felt any other part of the vehicle get caught up. Polaris spec'd the Northstar edition of the Expedition Adventure with a set of Fox QS3 position-sensitive shocks, which, as you know, are a favorite of the entire DIRT TRAX crew. My first move when I get a vehicle with these shocks is to set them all to full soft, which is where I have them set on the Expedition. At full soft, they offer both an extremely plush and smooth ride on the trails and don't at all hinder the suspension's ability to articulate over the most brutal terrain. I've mentioned the power of the Expedition's engine already, but there's a few additional observations I want to make here. The Expedition has 3 throttle modes: Comfort, Standard, and Sport. Now, being in Comfort mode makes it so much easier to crawl smoothly through really rough terrain. However, this version of the Expedition is large and heavy, and when the time comes to hit some smoother, less technical trails, its 114 horsepower feels very underwhelming and not at all impressive. There's more than enough bottom end to crawl through the most aggressive terrain, but when things get faster, the lack of power definitely affects the excitement level. The only other negative I have to mention is that visibility from the driver's seat of the Expedition isn't really that great. Now, when you're on a typical trail, it's completely fine, but when you're trying to pick your way through excessively gnarly and technical terrain, your sight lines are very limited. The high door sills and hood make you feel very safe and secure inside the vehicle and do a great job of keeping everyone protected from mud and debris.
but the trade-off is visibility, and it's really only an issue when the terrain is the roughest and you need it the most. After spending a very long day in the rocks, I found very few things about the Expedition that I don't like. It seemed like every obstacle was just another opportunity for this side-by-side to impress me over and over again. I can't count the number of times I thought, well, this is probably going to end bad, but let's give it a shot anyway, only to find out the Expedition had no trouble with it and usually made these situations seem easy. If your idea of an adventure is to set your destination to places that only the bravest few have ever been able to reach, I can honestly say Polaris's Expedition Adventure is a side-by-side that will get you there and back every time. No, it's not a dedicated or specialized rock crawler, but in the gnarliest terrain you can find, it doesn't really feel very far off of one.